3 times she had sent him away spluttering German oaths under his breath. It was a heavy burden to carry on such slender shoulders, and Anne had come closer to accepting his offer on that 3rd visit than she cared to admit. But he had made it in the open courtyard, below windows filled with the strained, haunted faces of the brave men who had already lost so much in a cause that had been doomed from the outset. If all she could do was give them this last shred of pride and honour to cling to, then it was little enough. It was also a sacrifice that grew pitifully smaller in importance with each day that passed, each hour that saw another rack of Jacobites hung for treason, each minute that brought the inevitability of her own death closer and closer. Her once lustrous red hair was dull and matted with filth. Her skin was grey, and the flesh had shrunk from her bones, leaving her body gaunt and always cold, in spite of the spare blanket one of the kinder guards had smuggled through the bars. Deep purple smudges ringed her eyes, and her hands were stained black, her nails cracked and torn from repeatedly pulling herself up to the narrow window cut high in the cell wall. She held one almost transparent hand up to the murky light and could not entirely stifle the sob that rose in her throat. She was so thin she could no longer wear the ring Angus had given her on their wedding day. It had fallen off one night, and she had become nearly frantic, groping through the straw and filth that littered the floor until she had found it. That was the closest she had come to weeping since her arrest. The closest she had come to screaming out a plea to the devil himself if he would take her away from this place. She did not know if Angus was alive or not. Cumberland assured her that he was, miraculously clinging to a thread to be sure, yet Anne had no reason to believe the Hanover general, certainly none to trust him. The royal toady had said himself that belly wounds were the quickest to mortify, despite the skills a surgeon could bring to bear. Anne curled her fingers into a tight ball and pressed them against her lips. A gleaming, fat tear squeezed between her lashes and streaked slowly down the length of her cheek to her chin. It hung there a moment, glistening like a liquefied diamond before a tremor shook it free and it dropped, unnoticed, among the other stains that darkened the bodice of her dress. The once lovely gown was filthy, the silk rendered colourless and torn in a dozen places. The layers of ruffled linen petticoats that she had discarded after the first week of confinement now served as her bedding. Her cloak had gone to ease the fevered chills of another prisoner. Over the weeks, she had bartered her shoes, her gloves, even the tiny rosette buttons that had adorned her bodice for a taste of cheese or an extra crust of black bread. When she had nothing left to trade, one of the Sassenach guards had suggested other ways of earning favours. But the first time he came into her cell at night, he left doubled over, his bollocks damn near kicked into his pockets. She had expected him to come back with friends, but she never saw his ugly face again, and one of the men in a nearby cell whispered a reassurance that she would not. No one would ever see him again for the insult he had paid to their valiant Colonel Anne. They did not know that the cruelest insult had already been delivered by Cumberland himself, nor did they know it had been Anne's own blade that had pierced her husband's belly. 1. Inverness, December 1745.